All right, everybody, welcome. This is right now we're calling this the Timeshare University podcast by Koala. It's a working title, but our goal here is to equip you as a timeshare owner to get the most value out of your timeshare. I'm Ryan, and this is Mike, the CEO of Koala. I have him on here today. I thought he'd be a good first guest because he is what I would consider a timeshare expert. He owns a Hilton timeshare himself, and today I wanted to bring Mike on and just get his experience from owning a timeshare, ways that he's maximized the value of his timeshare, and some tips that maybe you can take away as a timeshare owner yourself. So, Mike, go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about that timeshare of yours.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. Well, as you stated, I own timeshare with Hilton Grand Vacations, and I bought points because I was very familiar with how to utilize the system, and I think understanding utilization is so key with any of these products, right? And there's so much information asymmetry when people buy this; they don't really even know what they bought. They just understand this high level that, they were promised a bunch of things, and they get home, and it's generally speaking not as simple as they may have thought. And so the point of this podcast, Timeshare University, is that we want to unpack a lot of those kind of myths and really help you understand how to better utilize it, or in some cases rent it, or in some cases divest from it. Whatever that thing that you may need is going to be, we're here to help. So I own a timeshare in Orlando just for me because I wanted the points. Certainly there are ways in which you can own certain locations that give you primary access, and we'll kind of go through all that stuff. But for me, it was really just about the points, and I'm going to walk you through today how to, I feel, best utilize the Hilton Grand Vacations system. And for me, I get a lot of value when I utilize this product.
Yeah, what are some of the kind of like top tips that you have, or best resorts to book or best times to book? Like, give us a few ideas to help these timeshare owners out.
I think let's talk about like some of the problems that people encounter first. And some of the problems is that, again, it's kind of sold as this like catch-all for your travel, and it just really shouldn't be. It never is going to be everything to everyone. And even though Hilton has a large breadth of different properties, it's still not going to be everything you ever need. The vacations for the rest of your life and the rest of your family's life to be, right? It's an accent to what you're already doing. It's a way to kind of like complement what you're already doing. And so if you think about it that way, it can offer a lot of alternatives that are not available to you. So for me, if you're being too time and location specific with the product, it's going to be challenging in that, like, I want to go to this property at this date in 2 months
Mm.
from June 20th to June 27th. And that's not typically how it works. You may find something available in June from the 20th to the 27th, but it may not be where you want to go.
Right.
And conversely, you may look where you want to go and find some random dates available and kind of grab that. So like being flexible will enable you to kind of work around some of the barriers that a lot of people find. Unfortunately, a lot of people will buy this, they'll go in, they'll try to book a peak season stay 2 months out,
Mm.
and they get a wall and they're like, this is garbage. What did I waste my money on? And that's just not the way anything's going to work. And
Right.
I wouldn't say this product is right for everyone by any means, but like, if you can really tinker with it and understand where it's good and where it's not good, you can really get some great value and some great stays. I mean, I took my product and I did 6 or 7 nights in Los Cabos, the Hilton Club of Los Cabos, and my maintenance fee at the time was like $1,200. It's gone up a little bit. And for that it was like $700 a night for the room, and I mean, it was a great deal for that particular stay.
Right.
Other times, I've used it where it's like maybe I felt like I broke even, or maybe a little bit better, and it wasn't like this amazing deal. But like there have been times where I'm like, oh, this is like incredible. And so just kind of understanding those nuances will really help get you through, pretty much any of these challenges, particularly as a new owner.
So there's kind of this game you're playing where, let's say your maintenance fee is 1,200. Depending on how good you are at potentially using the system, you could kind of do better in terms of booking a vacation that makes sense for what you're paying.
I mean, sure, you want to think about this thing as like a vehicle to take vacations that you otherwise wouldn't take, right? And so when I see people, or when I spoke to people when I worked for Hilton Grand, which is why I really had this innate, which something I probably should mention. I worked for the company for some time, and through that process, I really got to understand the timeshare owner, the product itself, the online system, all of that stuff. And we'll take you on a little tutorial on how I use it. But through that process, I got to understand like how a lot of these other owners are using it, and again, like getting really good at understanding where it worked and where it did not work.
Yeah, I mean, let's jump into that next. How to best use availability tools? Like, what's the best way to kind of leverage what you have in terms of the tools that Hilton gives you?
Sure. So this is my system here, and for me, what I like to do is I don't have as many restrictions on time. Obviously, I run my own company. I can kind of travel when I want, and
Right.
not everyone has that flexibility. So depending on what their own circumstances are, I think will determine how they use this tool. But
Right.
for me, it's always like I want to find out maybe what resorts are available when and kind of book that way. So, for example, if I want to go away in June, I'll just open up the dates to June and see what's available for that. Or conversely, again, if I want to go to a specific resort, I'll just go to that resort and kind of try to see what's available.
Gotcha.
And the Hilton system, the way it works is that it loads all of the resort availability, so it does take a little bit.
Gotcha.
So again, kind of saying, all right, well, I wanted to travel in that scenario that I just shared with you in June at some point. So great. So now I can see what's available in June during the times I want to travel for every resort that's in the system versus
Oh,
being
wow.
resort specific.
Right.
And I could just scroll and be like, hey, I have a certain amount of points, and with these points, I can just scroll and see what's available. Conversely, I'm a big snowboarder, and for me, doing something like Sunrise in Park City, it's huge for me. I love this resort. I've been like 4
Okay.
times.
Oh, cool. Park City,
And
Utah?
Park City,
Is it
Utah.
Nice.
It's right in the canyons. It is
Wow, that's pretty.
basically ski in, ski out. I think they're building another lift that's like right at the resort. Right now, you have to walk across the street. And it's amazing. I mean, now you can see what's available if I just put the resort in and leave the dates open. Obviously, I'm not skiing in May or June. It might be too early for me to book anything good. We'll see. Let's actually put this in so I can just scroll out a little bit. Okay, good. So I can see right now that there's already dates in January available. So I'm right at that precipice, right at that cusp of being able to book in January. So I can book this, it looks like. There's some other scattered dates available, and all of this stuff will become available in the next few days for me. So
What's
again,
the
if I'm
booking
not,
window in terms
it's
of
the booking window is 9 months if you don't own a specific resort, and it's 12 to 9 months if you own in that specific resort, but only if you're booking a full 7 nights. So the Hilton system, it has its advantages to owning a specific week, even if that week's a floating week in a specific resort, if you want to continue to go to that resort. They're really moving to more of a trust points system or a points trust system, which is basically there's really no home week anymore. We're going to talk a little bit about a home week soon. A home week is where you're deeded your 7 nights in a particular season. It's usually a floating week. There are what's called event weeks where it's a locked week, but a floating week enables you to book 7 nights in any what's considered a week in that season, is provided it's in your deeded unit. So if you own a 2-bedroom platinum season in Park City, Utah at Sunrise Lodge, you can book that up to a year out for 7 nights in that unit.
Gotcha.
And for stuff like ski weeks, where there's like 3 or 4 months that everyone's really going to try to push into, it's a very valuable 3 months to have. I mean, you're ahead of 400,000 now more with the Hilton Vacation Club, hundreds of thousands of other non-owners in the system.
Right. Gotcha. So you as an owner, how would you go about renting your home week? What would be the steps to do that?
So caveat here, home weeks are being kind of phased out, I should say.
Right.
I don't know what the deal is with home weeks for some of the newer products that are like either HGV Max, Hilton Vacation Club, or some of the Points Trust stuff. But for me, I have a home week here. As you can see, it's right under the search bar. You would just click your home week, and from there, you would just go ahead and book now for this. And again, you notice it says no longer available, so I would be booking for the following year at that point, right?
Right.
This is my unit. I own a 1-bedroom penthouse
Sweet.
at Park Soleil, which is a very nice resort. I don't really use it there. I've gone there. It's great. For me, I really try to leverage this in different units, but if I wanted to rent this, I'm going to try to push for something that I feel would be, the best return potentially.
Right.
It's really easy to book your home week. There's no reservation fees. It tells you which weeks are available for your home week.
Right.
It tells you your unit, obviously, is the one you're deeded in, which is the 1-bedroom penthouse. And once this loads up, you'll see real quick that it gives you some options, and you just click the week you want to list or you want to book, and then you'd go through the process of listing it on Koala. So as you can see here, it just pulls up all of the relevant booking weeks that you can book. So, for example, it's 2026 because I've already used my 2025 points, or it's already too late. You have to book this pretty far in advance. For anyone that owns a floating week or a home week in any sort of resort, like Hilton Head in the summer, Myrtle Beach in the platinum season. I say summer, this is platinum season for them. Platinum season for, Park City or some of the other ski resorts like Breckenridge, that would be the winter. And anyone that owns a home week there, if you grab that and you go ahead and list it, there's assuming you price well, a very strong likelihood that that's going to get booked. You obviously want to look for areas that have this high density of search. And when you're looking at things like, again, ski, beach in the summer, or beach during, January to February, if it's in the tropics or in the Caribbean, you're going to have a very high likelihood of getting, a booking, because that's what people are looking for, right? So you got to think in the mind of a traveler. But for the example here, we would look at January 17th to the 24th, right? It's just after Christmas. It's a peak season for Orlando. Depending on what the kids are doing in school, there's, I could push out till March in a little bit. That won't be available quite yet, but you can see that soon, okay? So for all intents and purposes, let's say we booked the 1-bedroom in January from the 17th until it was the 17th to the 24th, okay? Once you could create a free account on Koala. So for those that want to rent their home week, it's really quite a simple process, right? You don't have to think about, how to write a resort description or anything like that. It's really, really simple. In this scenario, you would just click create a listing. By the way, in this example, I'm already logged in. You have a free account. We do offer VIP memberships, but in this scenario, you already have your week. Go ahead and list it for free. You would have various options for brands, but in this scenario, I've already kind of pre-selected Hilton Grand Vacations. And remember, we booked at Park Soleil. What's cool about this, if you notice, the second I wrote part of the resort, it already pulls up the option for me.
Nice.
What that means is that it also knows what my actual units are in the resort. So that is the unit that I own. This does not matter so much, but just to give us some information. And I'm not going to worry about this quite yet. Okay.
Nice.
This recognizes duplicate reservations, so that we're not loading up duplicate reservations.
Right.
So there would be a real reservation on there. That reservation would be tied to the reservation that if I had made it in my system, you'd get that confirmation reservation. In your email, the second you reserve, you would put that reservation number here. Because later we're going to correspond that or correlate that to your listing. We'll make sure that we verify that listing for you, right? So if you remember, we had January of 2026, and it was the 17th to the 24th.
Mm-hmm.
You'd go ahead and move forward with that. Now, here's the part I kind of want to stop on for a moment, right? We're working on some really powerful pricing tools, but pricing is one of, if not the most important thing, right? Selecting your inventory is critical, don't get me wrong, but everything has a price, right? So there could be something again, I keep using Park City as an example because I love that resort so much, but Park City for skiers, it's obviously great from January, maybe even late December, sometimes up until spring. There may be people that want to go there during what they call mud season, which is kind of right after the summer and kind of late fall, right before the ski season starts, right? Again, what prices are we talking about, right? Someone may want to go there when it's 25 or 50% below what it is in the peak season. That may be either their budget, they may want to avoid the crowds, and so just be price conscious about what you're doing. Anchoring bias is one of the more damaging things that can affect your timeshare rental. Anchoring bias is a cognitive bias that really kind of creates this expectation where you kind of hold on to what you believe is the value of your rental, of your timeshare. Unfortunately, in many cases, the retail value, what people buy their timeshares for, versus what they're for on the resale value, there's just a discrepancy there. And so if someone went in and spent $50,000, they may feel that they have to rent this for a certain amount to get their financial values worth. You have to, unfortunately, throw all that out the window. Another anchoring bias is, what are your maintenance fees? Well, I'm not going to rent this unless I can cover my cost. Unfortunately, nobody cares what your costs are. You don't care what the cost of the hotel is when you book as a traveler. Why would anyone care what the cost of your maintenance fees are? They only care about what else is available at a similar price and where they can get the best deal. And if you're not competitive with that, you're not getting a booking. So your cost can certainly come into play to some degree. And usually I say that's on the lower end. It's like, okay, as long as you're covering your costs and you're willing to go below market, because sometimes your cost may be well below market if it's a peak season. And if you're like, well, I don't really care, I'm not looking to profit or 2x my investment, I just want to cover my maintenance fees, you could actually book it fast. In other scenarios, your maintenance fees could be above market. And you can say, well, I'm going to list this thing for $2,000 because that's what I had to pay for it. But meanwhile, this exact week is on Expedia for half the cost. That's not a good scenario. That's not something you want to be in. Right. For example, I'll just put $150 a night. This clearly tells me that I'll earn this and Koala, the platform, earns this.
Right.
Okay? This is where you disclose fees. Oh, and by the way, real quick, it's probably something we want to get into. This 3% is for pro members. It's generally speaking, it's 8% for any standard user.
Gotcha.
You have to disclose your fees. This means if you check in, this is mandatory fees. This does not mean if you choose to pay for parking because you have a car. This does not mean if you choose to go to the restaurant.
Right.
This means mandatory fees that once you check in or check out, they're going to charge you for these fees right to the guest. Okay? You have to disclose those.
Right.
We ask that if there are none, you disclose that there are none, right? And obviously we have terms that are going to impact your payouts if you do this incorrectly. So just be careful, and if you're not sure, just go ahead and call the resort. You could always exit, which saves a draft, and give the resort a call and find out if there's any fees that you're not sure of. Okay? Choose your cancellation. I always say that you want to balance price and cancellation. If you're offering an amazing deal, if you're like, look, I just want $50 a night for this thing, but there's no cancellation, go ahead and do that. If you're like, no, you know what? I'm going to give them super flexible cancellation, but I'm only going to pull this down a little bit from what retail is. I see retail is at, $175 a night. I'm going to price this at $150 a night, but I'm going to want the most flexible cancellation or a flexible cancellation. Usually, you want to pack it somewhere in there. That's a great place to be.
Right.
Keep in mind, we tend to line these up with what some of the major clubs have as their own cancellation. So Hilton has a 30-day cancellation, which allows you to move or get your points back, which means if you have 32 days and the guest cancels 32 days out, you have 48 hours to go ahead and make any change to that reservation in your Hilton system so you're not losing points.
Makes sense.
Then you're going to check everything real quick, and you're going to submit your listing, and then you're all set.
Sweet.
Now, the next process is to send the proof of reservation. That just means that we're going to verify your listing for free. There's other platforms out there that charge you for this. We do it for free because we want to make sure that the experience that the vacationer is getting is top notch, which means when they go to reserve that inventory, it's generally speaking correct in there. There are obviously situations where we verify it, and then a month later, they change their mind, and in some cases it gets left up. But those are very, very minor. Generally speaking, we really keep this very tight. We want to present this to the traveler in the best possible light, and this is one of the ways in which we do that. So go ahead and send in your proof of listing or proof of verification. We verify the listing, and then it goes live. Super simple, and that's it.
Very nice. All right, and lastly, for this episode, I really wanted to focus on how people can leverage, regardless of what they're using, but in this case, obviously, we're showing Hilton here. How can they best leverage the system that they have in front of them to get the best week possible to either use it or rent it out? Like, give us some more tips on how to use the Hilton system here.
Yeah, you bet. So again, going back to one of the best things about the Hilton system, and when you compare it to a lot of the other systems that are out there for different vacation clubs, like major brands, they don't allow you to see the whole breadth of availability, which I think is absolutely crazy. You have to actually put in dates, put in a resort, and then it'll spit out what's available, or if it's available. And unfortunately, like if you're dealing with timeshare inventory, you could be there for hours, be like, what about this? No. What about this? No. It's just absolutely a frustrating way to utilize, some sort of timeshare product. The timeshare product, it's literally built on competing with your fellow club members to get into the better spots.
Right.
And so if you can't see what's available in real time, you're not going to be able to really move your dates around or try to be flexible at all. It really just becomes this overwhelming experience. So again, either be very specific about one or the other, not both. What that means is, again, be specific about where you want to go or when you want to go, not where and when, because again, you're going to generally find that is not very accommodating to your needs. And that is 99 times out of 100 where brand new owners get caught up. They get caught up because they get activated, they've spent all of this money, they put the car in drive and it stalls the second they do it. And that's just not a great experience, right? Versus kind of walking people through, again, where the negatives are and where the positives are, and just saying, okay, I know, again, that I have this week with the fam, the kids are out of school, let's see what's available. We can go to Scottsdale. I don't know if you want to go to Scottsdale in August, but I'm literally just flying through some of this stuff. The Great Wolf Lodge in Northern California is available. Plenty of availability. Colorado Springs as well.
Nice.
Orlando, again, maybe you don't want to go there So again, rather than saying, hey, I'm going to put in this specific dates, I'm just flying through the week that we have earmarked for a vacation, and I'm just flying through and seeing what's available. And then I can benchmark that against how many points I have and so on and so forth. It's very simple. And I found this way to be very, very effective, right? And again, if you've joined the Hilton Grand Vacation Club, there must have been something you liked about these resorts, right? Like, there's a very specific focus in certain areas. They're getting away from that a little bit, but there's a lot in Vegas, Orlando, a lot in Hawaii. They've built a bunch in New York. With their acquisition of Diamond Resorts, the Hilton Vacation Club has really expanded some of their locations. You just saw, Sedona and Scottsdale. There's some in Europe that have opened. But, there's certain areas that you're not going to use this for. And I know they pitched you probably Hilton Honors, but it's not always a good value. Sometimes it can be if you really focus on a couple things. But generally speaking, after you convert this thing to Hilton Honors points, it loses a ton of value. So you really want to drive this thing in the direction that it's going to work for you. And what's cool is, like, let's say, all right, we really wanted to go to Maui, and that was the week we had slated. What's cool about this is I can see that, hey, if we just move it a little bit, we can actually get in and stay at a one-bedroom. Okay, well, instead of doing the 10th to the 17th, what if we did the 12th to the 18th? Or what if we flew in and stayed at a different place for these couple of days and did this? So it just gives you that, 30,000-foot view of what's available and allows you to really leverage the system a lot better. You can't
It'd be a
do
great
this
way
on
just to find cool new places, too. Like, if
It
you're...
absolutely is.
Yeah,
And
there's so
you
much on
should
here.
be, you really should be buying the club and leveraging your club points with that in mind, which is that, allow this thing to take you somewhere. Don't think of it like I'm booking like the way you think about business travel, which, oh, I need to be in this city on these dates for this event. Then you go on any sort of OTA and you try to book a stay around those specific dates. Like that's not really what this is, right? It's like
Mm.
it's a conduit to get into some of these resorts. Put your list of like best resort to your least favorite resort and just kind of work down the list from there if you want. But I would be very intentional about how you use this product.
Right.
And I think if you do that, you'll be happy. And if you're not happy, Koala's here to help you offset those costs with
Mhm.
some rental income. And we have various ways in which we can do that. I showed you one of them through the home week rentals, and there's some other ways in which we can help you monetize some of this inventory.
Awesome.
And yeah, this is one that's pretty tough to get into.
What's this one called?
This is in Tuscany, Italy.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they had resorts in Italy.
Well, they have a resort in Italy.
Oh,
This
okay.
is it.
How many
So there
points?
you go. So you can see what I did. Like I moved this to the only availability at the end of August.
Right.
So you can see exactly what's available. Everything else has some scattered random dates, but that's the only like full week that's available. And it's a 3-bedroom, so if you had some friends or family that you want to go to, you can go ahead and book that. So there you go.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed that episode of, again, what we're calling it right now, the Timeshare University. We want to help you, the timeshare owner, get the most value out of your timeshare. So if you want more like this, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube. Leave a comment below if you're struggling with your timeshare, whether you just bought it or you've owned it for 20 years and you're unsure what to do. We'd love to help you out. And go check out koalavacations.com as well, where you can list for free. And we have a bunch of more resources on there as well. So thank you, Mike, for joining me today on the podcast. And we look forward to the next episode. We're going to give you guys more tips and tricks to leverage your timeshare. And so I will be signing off. I'm Ryan. This is Mike, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.